Procrastinators, want to put something off? Ha, listen to this. Don't do it right now, though. You might want to put it off till tomorrow or next week. But seriously, if you're someone who wrestles with multiple priorities, gets overwhelmed repeatedly, and your to-do list looks like it's your never gonna get done list, we've got the guest you need to listen to right now. Welcome to Talent Thrives Here, our podcast where we talk to people managing people. Our special guest today is the Procrastination Whisperer, Jesse Holmes. Jesse packs and unpacks the hurdles we put in front of ourselves every single day. And he has some amazing takeaway tips that you are going to want to know. Jesse, thanks you again for joining us today.
Hey, appreciate that, Lance. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, great to have you here. Jesse, our company works a lot in the recruitment space. We do a number of things, but we talk to companies hiring and we talk to people looking to be hired. And we talk to founders, CEOs, everyone from the top of an organization down to the entry level and college graduates. We also coach both sides. So we coach hiring managers on how to give proper interviews. And we also coach the job seeker on how to produce a better interview as well. So for everyone involved, this is kind of our ecosystem. But before I jump into this, can you share some of your background and how you became the procrastination coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I focus on procrastination is because it's a very common issue, especially for people that are responsible for their own money. That means if you're in the middle of looking for a job or if you're an entrepreneur, that extra pressure makes procrastination just a little extra harder for some reason. There's a couple of reasons why. One, Harvard research shows it's not laziness or poor time management. Procrastination has to do with perfectionism, overwhelm, fear of failure, self-doubt, lack of confidence, lack of clarity, not knowing where to start, or actually even being on the verge of a burnout. So with myself, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old. I've started, crashed, and burned many different businesses. The first 10 years of my business were a lot different than the last 9 years of my business. And the reason why is because the first 10 years I was on the team of, I'm not, no pointing fingers because my dad's the most wonderful person ever. I really appreciate him. But my dad is very much a perfectionist, very much analysis paralysis kind of guy, overthinks, needs every tool, every software, every course under the sun. And that's kind of the upbringing I had in the first 10 years of business. And I had to actually hire and find an incredible mentor who actually kind of reprogrammed that out of me. And when we did, we were able to take a business to scale from zero to $12 million in just a few years. And I was able to do it all in under managing 30 minutes a day, all through these principles of how to overcome procrastination, how to focus on your high leverage activities, how to be consistent, and how to do the things that really move the needle.
Excellent, excellent, great. Thank you for that. That's reminds me of a million years ago. I was in sales, and we got sales trainers, and the analogy was, like someone shooting a rifle. It's ready, aim, fire. And the sales trainer said the problem with salespeople is some people have fired. They haven't ready, they haven't aimed. They're just firing all over the place. And he said other ones they ready, aim, and they never fire. Right. And he's of these three sort of metrics, there was like, if we're doing it properly, we steady, we ready, we aim, then we fire. That there's a proper cycle. But that was his sort of analogy. Was a lot of people can't pull the trigger when it's time, or people are pulling the trigger all day long and have no bones doing it, but they're making a mess. Right? They're not
Mm.
prepared. So,
Mhm, mhm.
if I could jog back to sort of our world is like many industries, job markets are fractured right now, and they're highly disrupted, and the economy's got shifting forces, the advent of AI automating portions of admin and scripting and writing, like it's disrupting a lot of. If it hasn't disrupted the industry, it's given industries a moment to pause because they don't know what's happening with AI, where
Mm.
it's going. And some
Mhm.
senior executives are like, wait, pump the brakes, let's try to gauge what this is all about. So we've got companies laying off still, job
Mhm.
seekers hunting for scraps. They're trying to fight out or beat out the other 300 qualified candidates that also applied for the same single role. This is what we
Mhm.
hear on a regular basis. So if I could paint that picture, there's fatigue on both sides of the hiring process. Like, what do I do
Mhm.
next? Client side talent acquisition, they've got too many things coming in. And job seekers, as I mentioned earlier, almost kind of, it's like a depression or a fatigue of,
Mhm.
how do I keep going? Or what do I do every day when I get up? Because I truly believe a lot of them are getting up. If they haven't had a callback or an interview or any sort of whisper of hope, they get up every day depressed. They start with a
Mm,
negative headspace, right? They go, "This is
mm.
not going to work. I might as well just go for coffee again," and or the bills are piling up, and they're not getting any forward. So I liken when I talk to job seekers, I said, "This is your full time job now. You are an entrepreneur, right?
Mm.
You have to look at the week, chop it up, and figure out what if you're running the business of finding a job. What does that look like? Does that make sense? Does that resonate?
Absolutely, absolutely. And with that extra pressure comes the overwhelm. And that's why I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, is because that extra pressure makes things different. When you have a job, you report to someone, you clock in, you clock out. You don't have to be as accountable or responsible for your productivity of someone else helping you be
Yeah,
productive.
yeah,
As soon as you go into looking for a job or being an entrepreneur for yourself, anytime you have to make money through your own actions, now you have unlimited options,
right.
the
Oh yeah,
different opportunities. There's overwhelm. There's so many different things that you can choose from.
yeah,
And when you said, okay, how do I get through the disruptions? How do I break through the noise? How can I be the candidate that they pick over anyone else? The competitive advantage in today's market for an entrepreneur is consistency. Being able to be the same day in and day out without burning out. If you can outlast and never quit, never give up, and never burn out, that will be your competitive advantage for getting that job. Or even on the flip side, for hiring that right person. If you're consistent, you can avoid these ups and downs of motivation and burnout.
right.
I get a call back, I get all excited. Oh, it didn't go through. Now I'm depressed. How do we get through that? That's all about building consistency.
Great, great. I like that. Great. And another one I have is this sort of, the procrastinator that goes, "Well, I'll do that tonight, or I'll do that
Mm.
on the weekend," or and then the evening comes, they're like, "I don't really want to do that," and they were really never really wanted to do it anyways. But this idea that there'll be more time, there'll be more time. I
Yes.
can get that later. I can get that later, and that list of later gets bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger, right? And so, have you got any coaching advice for that? Thinking like you're going to do that tomorrow or the next day, and then it rolls into the day after and the day after, and then 2 weeks has gone by and you haven't touched it.
That's right. That's right. Because procrastination multiplies. And the longer you wait to do something, the harder it takes because in your brain, you've developed this habit of, I can't do this right now. And when you do that habitually over a few days, next thing you know, you literally cannot do that right now.
Right, right.
And so, how do we flip the script on that? How do we reprogram that? I have a simple system I call my 3M method. Sorry, 3E method. Easy, enjoyable, and every day. How can I, instead of taking this big task all at once in one chunk, how can I make it super easy in an enjoyable way to do this every single day consistently without burning out?
All right. And are you going to tell us more about these three E's or
Absolutely, absolutely. So for anyone listening to, I have what's called a procrastination to profit planner. 10 minutes a day to turn that lost time into revenue. It breaks down in further detail all about those three E's. How do I make this thing that's overwhelming in my head? How can I make it easy? What's the least amount of time and energy I can use to get started, to overcome that hurdle in my brain? How can I make that easy? The second thing is, how can I make it enjoyable? With this job hunt process, if it's a drag, if it's miserable, it's going to be so hard to stay consistent. You got to make it as enjoyable as possible because the destination is a short moment, but the journey is most of the time that we're stuck in. And if we're not
right,
enjoying the process of it, we're gonna tap out. So
right,
first thing, make it easy. Second thing, make sure you're enjoying the process. And third thing, make sure you can do it every single day. Especially when you're looking for a job, if you're doing it all based on motivation, or I'm going to apply to 100 places today and no places tomorrow, the algorithms are going to work against you. You got to do it every single day. And if you're consistent, that's the only way you're going to get rise to the top of the pile.
yeah, great. It's interesting because I was thinking while you were talking about I've taken many management courses, and almost all of them prescribe that the morning from about 8 o'clock till midday is the same activity every single day.
Yes.
So if you're an entrepreneur, it's client interaction, sales, business development, right? The afternoon can be for the other, facilities in your business, but get up every morning,
Yeah.
We used to call it 10 before 10, make 10 phone calls before 10 a.m., right?
Mm,
And then
hmm,
as things got faster and more automated, it was like 20 before 10, right? So, and now it's, we have like thousands of emails before 10 a.m. going out and that sort of thing. But no,
Yeah.
it's good that you bring that up. And I'm curious, we haven't talked about this before, but you've seen Stephen Covey, maybe some of his
Of
work.
course. Of course.
Yeah. So, the four quadrants, and really it's like emergency, but is it important? Well, it looks like an
Right.
emergency, but is it really important?
Right.
This sort of thing of being able to prioritize. And I remember being in a company years ago, and one of the office staff came to me and just frazzled, like, I've got 25 things to do. I'm like, yeah, most of us do. And let's put them into boxes. I just did the
Mm,
quadrant system, right? And she
yeah.
was like, but what about this box? What if they fall off? And I said, well, then they were never important and they were never an emergency.
Right.
So
That's
there
right.
will be things on your priority list that 3 days go by, nobody asked for them, and no one ever will again. So allow yourself this valve that goes, those go down the toilet. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
Like, no one cares, right? I cared for a moment,
Absolutely.
but apparently no one else
Right.
did. And
That's
again,
right.
I go back to when you're an entrepreneur, you have to build these kind of rolling priority lists all
Hmm.
of the time, and be aware that some of them are never going to get done,
Hmm.
and don't fuss about that. Don't over analyze it. Just go, no, clearly stuff's going to fall off the wagon, and it's not going to hurt our success. And do you know what I mean? And I think some
Absolutely.
people takes them a while to build that headspace that you can't do it all. It's impossible,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, it is a habit. And to your point, if the earlier I can be proactive before I'm reactive,
Yeah,
the better I will realize that all those things I was reacting to weren't necessary for me to react to. Because when you learn, okay, what is the actual thing that's going to move the needle, make the difference, and
yeah,
I'm proactive early on in my day, I'll
yeah.
realize that all the things I was reacting to were wasting my time and energy.
Yes,
And the
yes.
more I can be proactive earlier on in the day, the less I have to be reactive all the time.
Yeah. I took another course years back, and they called it the crunchy frog. Eat the crunchy frog in the morning. Have you heard of
Yep.
that? It's like
Yep.
the
Yep.
one thing you really don't want to do today, do it first,
Yeah.
right? And then you're like, now it's out of the way, whatever it
That's
was,
right.
because otherwise you're never going to get to it. And I thought that was an interesting point. But it kept coming up every few weeks. Someone else would reference the crunchy frog. Eat the crunchy frog. Um,
So yeah, I love that analogy. And the thing that always was difficult for me is I still had that resistance to, taking that first bite of that crunchy frog.
yeah,
So kind of what I've done with my framework is I've made it bite-sized chunk, made it easy, and I make it enjoyable. So I put some chocolate sauce on the frog, so it makes
right.
it easier to go down.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what my framework is how can I take that frog, break it down into the easiest first bite,
Mm,
make it as enjoyable as possible. Some things aren't enjoyable, but I can make it
right.
more enjoyable. And how can I make sure that I do it every single day as a habit?
Right. Well, and here's my question for you, Jesse, because it's like, some of us do have these things we've been putting off for weeks or months,
Mm.
maybe years, right? And the longer you push it off, I think the more energy you spend not
Yeah,
starting it.
absolutely.
Is that fair?
Absolutely.
And so I like
Absolutely.
I like your thing about, put a little chocolate sauce in it, like bite into it. Don't try and tackle the whole thing. I had a boss years ago in sales where he would say, hey, even like the best baseball pitcher, the most winning baseball pitcher would hit a slump occasionally. And he
Right.
said, rather than keep swinging and playing and pitching, you take a break, you take a day
Yeah.
off or 2 days off,
Yep.
and you just do everything else but worry about this thing. And
Mm.
then you come back with a clear head. But he said, if you just keep swinging, it's not going to help.
That's
So
right.
allow yourself these
Hmm.
vacations. And I think,
Yep.
for someone that's on the job hunt, it's the same thing. Like, if you're grinding away 6 or 7 days a week and nothing's working, you
Hmm.
probably need to get out of the house and get some sunshine and go for a walk. And
Yeah.
my trick often is just I've got 5 or 6 coffee shops within a 10 to 15 minute walk.
Nice.
Just get out and go for a coffee. I don't need to, but
Yeah.
it's mentally stimulating, and it
Yep.
takes your head off of the stuff you're all fighting against. And
Yep.
I think for a lot of people, we build a lot of walls in our head, and we don't
Yes.
realize how much time we're spending reinforcing them. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I like to position my day so I give myself that mini vacation almost every single day.
Yep.
So I'm getting my stuff done productively early on in the day, and I'm not spending, and this is it's a thing called Parkinson's law, meaning whatever time I have allotted for the activity is how much time I will take.
Right.
And so if I spend less time on the thing, I can actually be more productive and more focused on it. This was a big thing that messed with my head a couple of years ago.
Wow. That's a good
I
one.
was I was I was practicing for the sport for with a bunch of my friends, and I was doing like 4 or 5 hours a day, 4 days a week, and the diminishing returns were insane. Like I was spending
Yeah.
so many hours and not improving.
Yeah.
Then I had a kid and all that kind of stuff, and I had all of a sudden I had way less time on my hands. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing to focus on? And I stripped it down, and now in minutes a day compared to hours a day, I'm
Right.
able to actually grow and improve because I'm focusing on the high leverage, high like value activities on
Yeah.
a daily basis over time. And I'm seeing growth way more productively in way less time. And I think it's common with a lot of people in the job hunt search. When you don't have a job, it's so emotional. It's like
Yeah.
everything is on the line. And we go through these waves of reacting to how I feel. Oh my goodness, I have no money. I need to. And then you
Yeah.
get burnt out and you realize you have to recharge. And you go through these waves. The best thing to do, honestly, the starting point for every person doing a job today, and it's going to sound really silly, apply to one job every single day.
Sure.
That's your new daily minimum. I don't know, care
Right.
where you're at, because time's going to go past 30, 69 days. But being consistent helps you focus on, okay, am I applying to the right job? I can spend time making my resume appropriate from that one job. Just focus on one application a day.
Right. Right. I take your point, and one of my other bits of advice on that is also like, even if it's outside the thing that you have trained forever to do, and this is the thing you really want to do, if it's really really hard, go pick up another part-time job,
Mm,
something, because a bit
yeah.
of money coming in, even if it's not really related to your full-time profession,
We'll take
keeps
that
that.
pressure right off. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, well, at least I've got, X number hundreds of dollars coming in based on that. So having a multiple stream of income, if again, if possible, and it's not
Right.
possible for everyone, but
Mm,
those little small when I was a kid, I had like five part-time jobs. I was like
yep.
working 7 days a week, or I was busy 7 days a week, but probably working five. But I had to
Right.
run to this one and wait tables there, and then do this somewhere else, and just trying to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes I think in a fractured economy where things are really unstable, I think, being very pragmatic is really critical, and saying, okay, I can work weekends at this place and make X, so that I'm focusing Monday to Friday on my job hunt, but on the weekend I do have a spare job.
Mm,
And that little trickle of money coming in, helps, I think, the depression, the anxiety, the
yeah.
overwhelm,
Right.
and it's hard for a lot. I'm not saying any of this
Mm,
is easy. If you're in a spot where
yeah.
it's really hard to get a job, but those little things start to add up. At least you've got something
Yes.
working in another area. So, great. Jesse, look, I'm just conscious of the time. I think we've been at this over 15 minutes or so, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure we could talk for 45 minutes or an hour, and maybe we'll,
Absolutely.
do another episode later in the year if you'd like, and we can dig into a couple of things. But if people want to find you, I would assume, Jesse Holmes, you are on LinkedIn. Is there anywhere else that they should go to, like Instagram or whereabouts?
Yeah, my website, effortlessgrowth.co, that will give you the procrastination planner that I was referring earlier.
Great.
You join that, you sign up for that, my email list. You also get invited to my private Facebook group where I go live every single day. Where you can ask me any questions you want. So Facebook, Instagram, and my website, effortlessgrowth.co, is the best place to start.
Excellent. Look, thanks so much. It's been great chatting with you. And like I said, I think we could talk more, but maybe we'll dig in at a later date. And if for anyone that likes the podcast, please like, subscribe, send it off to some friends, and drop a comment for us. I'm sure Jesse would like to hear some comments. So thank you again,
100%.
everybody, for watching, and thanks, Jesse, for being our guest today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lance.